So I've marked the tops where the anchor bolts will go, but it turns out that's getting covered up with concrete. So now I'm going to run around and mark the outsides. Some of these might end up getting adjusted, but I think I'm pretty good on most of them. See here, I have a 16-foot board. It's going to go from here to here, the seal plate, so it'll end there. So I need to be a foot from the end of the board. So I'll put one here and put one there. And I tried to make sure, so I'm like 6 inches or so, 7 inches from the corner. So the seal plate will go there. And even if I do a corner stud, 3 studs in a row, the studs will still miss the bolt and shouldn't be in the way. So I tried to pull, I pulled 4 feet on center, but also checked to make sure they weren't going to land on studs either. And so they shouldn't be in the way. Here again, so I'll have a 16-foot seal plate here. It lands here, or the end lands here. And then so I'll stay, within a foot of the end by putting one here and putting one there. All right, so I'll go ahead and mark these off. You don't need to see me do the rest of them, but you get the idea of what I'm doing. I decided to go with concrete instead of using a concrete truck. And so now I'm just sitting here mixing one bag at a time, filling one hole at a time. So that was waiting to set up a little bit before I stick the bolt in. Otherwise they'll just sink. This one already has some in it, so that's the one I'm working on now. We'll finish filling it up and then move on to the next one. Yeah, it works out a little easier if you give it a few minutes to start setting up before you put the bolts in. Otherwise they just sink. And I got the 2x4 there to gauge the height of the bolt and make sure I don't go too deep. And it's pretty simple. So now I just have the rest of the walls to do. About another 30 or 35. I think there's 43 in all. So I found it's a little less messy if I take a bucket and just dip out the concrete that way and pour it in. Otherwise, you do it with a shovel, it just goes everywhere and you end up wasting a lot of it. A trowel would be nice, but it's in the shop and I don't want to go get it. So this works just fine. Leave it just a little bit proud of the block because it ends up sinking a little bit once it sets up. So leave it a little bit proud. Besides, I don't mind getting my hands dirty. Washes off. It will dry your skin out if you don't keep it clean. If you don't keep your hands cleaned off, it'll dry your skin pretty good. So here's the anchor bolts I'm using, called J bolts. People call them J bolts, but I don't know why. It's an L, not a J. But I do have washers for them, but I took the washers off till the concrete sets up. Otherwise, they'll just fall and sink down to concrete. So I took the washers off, and I'll run the nut down there, down onto them about all the way down. And as you can see, this one's already sunk a little bit, so it's going to require a little bit more. This one's a little bit more wet than I'd hoped for, but it'll take a few more minutes for it to set up. So I'll go ahead and put one in these. So they just really just slide on in. I'm just trying to line them up with my marks here. Just kind of wiggle them in there. And I used a 2x4 because that's the same thickness as the seal plate, 1.5 inches. So that'll get me about right, so I can go down a bit more. That's about as far as we go. All right, that's that. These came with just standard 1/2 inch flat washers, you know, round flat washers, just the normal washers. Some people say you got to have the wider, the big square ones. I'm not certain about that. The last building I built, it was inspected and it passed with their standard washers. So if I can find the bigger washers, I'm going to put those on there. But if I can't, I'm just going to use what I have and see what they say about it. So here's my next line. I'm just going to wiggle it in here in the center of the hole. Check it, make sure I'm good. Good. So that's that. Let's see. And I've been alternating them too. Some the L's turning toward the inside, some are turning toward the outside. I don't really think it really matters, but you know, it just adds to the structure if they're pulling against each other. So I'm trying to get them straight up and down. They might move or get bumped or something, but if I can keep them straight up and down, I think I'll be doing good. This concrete's been in the wheelbarrow for a little bit, so it's ready to go. The cleaner I can keep it, the easier it will be to scrape all the excess concrete off when I put the seal plate down. So it's good when I can keep it clean. Doesn't always work that way. Sometimes it just slops all over the place. And I run the nut all the way down to the bottom of the thread, and that helps me gauge the depth that if I have the depth pretty close to where it needs to be. So yeah, I mean that gets me pretty close. Just where the nut is just above the concrete. I'm down to the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more J-bolts. I'm going to have some extra concrete, so I'll just fill the holes in. None of it gets wasted. The whole system with using the bucket has worked out pretty good. It's a lot less messy this way. Uh-oh. If anybody's wondering why I still have a sticker on my shovel, well, it's because it's brand new. I have a brand new shovel because the concrete guys ran off with my shovel yesterday. So I had to go buy a new shovel. I have a couple other sharp point shovels, but they weren't as good as the one they took. So I had to go back and buy a good one. But The sticker will wear off eventually. I hope they enjoy it. Well, that's all but the very last one. I'm going to give that one another few minutes to set up, and then I'll put the last one in. But all the others are in. Didn't go too bad. I used a lot less concrete than I planned for, so that's always good. Have some left over. So now I'll call for an inspection for the foundation. Honestly, I'm not sure, and I couldn't really find anything in the book. I mean, most everything is pertaining to houses and, you know, livable spaces. So I'm not sure if I have to waterproof the outside of this before it's inspected or not. I mean, I'm going to waterproof it, but I don't know if it has to be done before a foundation inspection passes. So I think I'm just going to wing it and see what they say. And if they're good, then I can do it later on my own time, because I really want to get the framing going. So once the inspection passes, then I'll go ahead and get the lumber ordered, and then when he gives me the go-ahead, then I can go ahead and get started. I'll put the pressure-treated seal plate down, seal foam underneath it first, then the seal plate, and then I can get going on the walls. So it's moving along pretty fast, or at least this part was. You know, this was just a big dirt pad a couple weeks ago, so now it's starting to look like something. Can't wait to see the walls up. So come back next time, and maybe we'll have good news from the inspector, and we'll start working on the seal plate and the framing. All right, take care. Thanks for watching.